All right, today I'm gonna be building a block house and taking your questions. You may be thinking to yourself, well, this guy can build human houses. Can he build toy houses? Oh, yes, I can. But these instructions that they claim are for ages 8 and up, give me a break. I can barely understand this at 46. We're going to answer as many fan questions as we can, like the one we got from 80 Pink Lady. How do you choose the right light for your kitchen table? Well, first things first, you need something that you like. You know what? I'm already missing a part of this. See? Let me see here. I'll take this off of here. Oops. Kitchen table. So there are certain heights that you need to be aware of. So your standard kitchen table is going to be roughly 30 inches tall. And then you want to have the right clearance above that. If you have standard 8-foot ceilings, you're probably going to have your light fixture about 36 inches above the table. I am so tall, as are all of my friends and family, so generally we'll go for something even taller than that. We'll usually look at maybe around 42, well, we have 10-foot ceilings, so 42 inches. If you have 10-foot ceilings, maybe like 38 to 40, even for an 8-foot. It also depends on the fixture, because if you have a really tall fixture and it hangs really low, then you don't want to have something like that there, because then it's going to look kind of funny. So that's what I say. You got to pick your fixture based on what space you're dealing with. The higher the ceiling, the more you can do. All right, so that's that. Some of this, I've never seen some of these pieces before. Some of this is new. So, okay, so that looks good there. A little door here. Wait, why is this not lining up? Something's not right here. Let me see here. It's pretty cute. Put that right there. Gotta make sure the swing of the door is right. Has to meet code. I'm not gonna build an illegal fake house. So, why don't I actually jump in and do some questions? Gail Probst-Tavir is asking, do you have any Drew photos that crack you up? I have so much blackmail on Drew, it would make you laugh for days. Are you asking this because you want me to pull out my phone and show you some of these embarrassing photos right now? Because I am also willing to do that. Why will this not attach? Let's see here. That piece doesn't want to go down. I feel like I've got the wrong piece for this one. It goes that way. There, that makes more sense. Boom, that's better. Okay. Only because you asked, Gail. Embarrassing photos of Drew. Yes, I have a whole folder. Oh, that's too much. I also have a lot of compromising photos of myself in embarrassing costumes and whatnot. I know I have one. There's a specific one I'm looking for. That's Drew trying to have long hair like mine, but that's not the most embarrassing. Okay, you tell me what is more embarrassing. That one? That one? That one? Or that one? The critic. Oh, Drew. I need my doormat. It's probably easier because the kids have tiny fingers. I have big, clunky construction fingers. How many of you have kids and you're like, they give something like this 2 minutes and then they give up on it? I end up being the one that's like, I have to finish anything that I start. So if the kids give up on something, I finish it on my own.
Starting in my hand, making progress.
Let's answer another question. Charmin Dunlap says, how did you get started in home renovations? Well, haven't you read my book? Question answered. No, I'm just joking. I actually got started because I was a kid on a ranch. When you grow up on a ranch, you're very handy. Dad showed me how to build stuff. We always had to fix fences and do all that stuff on our own. Then when I got into magic, I started building my props, and that's when I started doing metalworking and woodworking, and I loved it. You could build all these incredible things. And then when we were kids, Drew wanted to be an actor, I wanted to be a magician. We're like, well, we don't want to be struggling artists, so let's invest in real estate to fund our creative endeavors. And so we started buying every book we possibly could on how to make millions with no money down, because we had no money. We actually ended up buying our first house at 18 for only $250 out of pocket. The seller did vendor take-back financing for all of their equity, so they basically did their own second mortgage for us. And we were able to assume his bank mortgage because he couldn't make those payments, and then that's how we got in. So we fixed the house up, made a tidy profit, and we're like, we could do this again. And so we did, and we did it again and again, and it was great. So that's kind of how we got into real estate. Love Fran is asking, how do you change a shower head correctly? It's not as easy as you may think. Now, one thing people always have is they'll have a shower head that starts like spraying in different directions, or it's not spraying, like maybe only half the holes are spraying. It doesn't mean you have to change your shower head. It means you have to clean it. You have to descale it. Over time, there's minerals that build up in your water and it plugs all those holes. The easiest thing to do is you get a plastic baggie or like a dish or something like that, and you put some sort of CLR type product in there. Cover the entire shower head. Usually what I'll do is I'll put it in a bag and I'll put it in there and I'll tape it and I'll leave it there for a good 10 minutes, something like that. Then take it off, turn on the shower, and you'll actually notice that the spray should be a lot easier. Sometimes you have to kind of like jiggle the little rubber bits that are coming out of the shower head. You don't want to leave that solution on the fixture overnight because it will actually erode the plating off of it, and then your fixtures won't match. If you do that and it's still plugged and still not working, you may want to at that point take the shower head off and then put it in a dish for a little bit longer that has that solution. And then worst case scenario, if you do have to swap it, all you have to do is make sure you have the right wrenches, plumber's tape, it's a Teflon tape, and you wanna make sure you're wrapping the tape in the direction that it screws back on, that it tightens. If you don't put enough, you're gonna have leaks. If you put too much, you're not gonna get it fully tight. Good question. Moving along here, let's see here, I need, okay, so I just broke my sidewall. Boom, 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 flying. So I'm gonna make the roof line and our little pitch. I've accepted a long time ago that I'm never gonna have model hands. They're not gonna hire me to model watches, things like that. Contractors don't have pretty hands. It's just a fact of the matter. All right, nice. Andrea Moore, do you think open concept will eventually go out of style and dedicated rooms will return? This is the question that gets asked all the time, and people are like, open concept, I hate it. Well, in reality, I don't think you're gonna have fully compartmentalized houses like they did in the past. Now, granted, you do have more families living together longer, which is kind of how it was a long time ago. You'd have multi-generational houses, but with the cost of housing, you're having that happen more. And yes, with that sort of a setup, it's better to have compartmentalized spaces because then you don't have the noise transfer. Keep in mind, whenever we're talking about open concept, we're just referring to the kitchen, dining room, living room. Those three spaces are usually where you entertain, and that's where you like to have a little bit more space and have those sight lines. Personally, from a design standpoint, I don't think open concept's ever gonna go away. If you can accommodate it, it is more valuable to have that. If you do want to put those walls up, then you be you, close that up, because I'll admit, some of my friends, I'd rather be able to close the door and not hear what they have to say. Misty Falls is saying, is it worth it to do the whole roof in solar? The great thing with solar, you can actually go online. There are free resources where they'll take a image of your roof from Google Satellite, and they can automatically calculate how much sun exposure you have, how much usable roof space you have, and they can tell you what you can max out on. Some jurisdictions, the utility restricts how many kilowatt hours of solar you can produce. In other areas, it's not restricted, but you are restricted because if you have penetrations through your roof or chimneys or vents or whatever it might be, you can't put solar over top of that. If you know that you have X amount of power usage, max it out. Get as much as you can to offset that. Don't rely on being able to sell extra energy back to the grid for too long, because that may change. But also, as homes continue to electrify, keep in mind that you'll probably have a gas dryer that you start doing electric with, or a gas range that you all of a sudden switch over to induction. So all of these things eventually will be electrified, and you'll need the solar to offset that. All right, next step for me, we're building this little interior area. Okay, she is a scientist, I can tell. Jenny Moore 2020, answering your question. What is the most monotonous, time-consuming, boring job in renovation? There are so many. I would say wallpaper is probably pretty frustrating because it's so precise. You see any little error and that job is pretty meticulous. Removing wallpaper is even more monotonous. Laying carpet, I do not like laying carpet. Dealing with Drew, oh God, it's exhausting. Brenda P796, how much would it cost in Canada to rip out my hardwood floors in a small condo and replace them with vinyl? To be totally honest, every jurisdiction is different. It's not just Canada versus the US, it's regionally even, costs are different. So I wouldn't be able to tell you how much it would cost, but you know, demo is pretty labor intensive, and so you'll quite often find that your demo costs can almost match what your install costs are, depending on the quality of the installer and the quality of the product. All in, I usually see kind of like $6 to $8 a square foot on average, something like that. Vinyl, by the way, going in also depends on how you do install. Some of it's just click install and you float it. Some of it you glue it down. I always like to glue down whenever I can, because then it just makes it so you don't have any movement in the floor and you don't have that hollow knocking sound. Gloria Rotunda, are large copper appliances difficult to maintain? Will they tarnish? You have to look at the appliance. Some appliance manufacturers will say right in their description that it is unsealed and so it will tarnish, and that's the look that you're going for. Whereas if it is sealed, it's not supposed to tarnish and it will stay looking exactly the same way. Personally, I prefer it untarnished, so I always make sure it's sealed. There are products you can seal aftermarket with, but then the appliance manufacturers void their warranty if you add that usually. And one more question from Mary Weave Wetzel. I'm painting my front door and my garage door black. What finish of paint do I use? Good question. A little trick with painting is, if you're doing a renovation to an existing wall, you're not putting in brand new drywall with brand new mudding, it is always best to go with a flat paint, because anything flat is going to hide imperfections as the light hits it from different angles. If it is brand new construction and you know this wall is going to be perfectly flat, then you can get away with something that has a little bit more of a sheen. Some people will go eggshell, some people will go satin finish. I personally do not like doing high gloss surfaces unless it is intentional, like in a piece of furniture. But for walls, I don't like to do it. Doors, I will usually go with a nice satin finish on the doors because you want a little bit of a sheen, same on moldings, things like that. But it's all in the prep work. You have to sand down, you have to make sure it's all done right, prime it properly. I always like to spray doors. Anytime I can spray my doors and trim, that's what I will do. I think the finish is nicer than if you do it with a brush. All right, so there are still so many more steps to this puzzle. You know what? Write more questions. Come back next time. I'll answer even more. In fact, I might not even be done this one by the time you come back. Okay, where is this? Oh my gosh, I'm not even a fifth of the way through. 140 pages? That's what apparently it's gonna look like. So I'm gonna be here a while. I feel like we need an ADU for when the relatives come to visit. Okay.